Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another engaging session of Talk 3.0. Today, we explore a pressing and environmentally significant topic, coastal vulnerability and sea level rise in India. Our speaker, Nazrin, will guide us through the growing challenges faced by India's coastal regions due to rising sea levels and climate change. The discussion will examine the physical, social, economic dimensions of coastal vulnerability, the impacts on communities and infrastructure, and the gap between projected risk and on-ground preparedness in disaster management. I welcome Nazrin.
Good evening, everyone. Today, I am going to present on the topic coastal vulnerability and increasing sea level rise in India. As we know, India has a vast coastline of approximately 7,500 kilometers, stretching across 9 coastal states and 4 union territories. These coastal regions are not just geographical boundaries, they are economic lifelines of the country. Major metropolitan cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, and Kochi are located along the coast, and they contribute significantly to the India's GDP through tourism, shipping, fisheries, and ports. Nearly 250 million people live in this coastal district. This high population concentration increases exposure to climate-related hazards. With rising sea levels, these regions are facing increasing risk, making coastal vulnerability a critical issue for sustainable development in India. Now let's move into what is a sea level rise. Sea level rise refers to the gradual increase in the average height of the world's ocean. It is primarily driven by the global warming. There are two major significant reasons behind this phenomena. First is thermal expansion, which means when ocean water absorbs heat from the atmosphere, it expands. Even a small increase in temperature causes significant expansion because oceans cover a large portion of the earth. Second is the melting of glaciers and polar ice sheet. As global temperature rise, ice in regions like Greenland and Antarctica melt and add more water to the ocean. Together, these processes accelerate the sea level rise. Though the reason may seem slow annually, its cumulative impact over decades significantly increases the coastal flooding, erosion, and also the storm surge intensity. Now, let's move into what is a coastal vulnerability. Coastal vulnerability refers to how exposed a coastal area is to hazard and also how well it can cope with them. It depends on three major factors: exposure, sensitivity, and adaptive capacity. So what is exposure? Exposure is how frequently an area experiences hazard like cyclone and flooding. Sensitivity means how severely people, infrastructure, and ecosystem are affected. Whereas adaptive capacity is the ability of communities and the government to respond and recover from the disaster. For example, in a densely populated urban slums near the shorelines, they have high sensitivity and low adaptive capacity, making them extremely vulnerable. So, these are the highly vulnerable coastal areas. As we know, some regions in India are particularly vulnerable due to geography and socio-economic conditions. In West Bengal, Sundarbans Delta, which face severe erosion and frequent cyclones. Odisha regularly experiences intense cyclone storms from the Bay of Bengal. Then Kerala. Kerala faces coastal erosion and flooding due to heavy rainfall and sea intrusion. Tamil Nadu and Gujarat are also exposed to cyclones and storm surges. So these are the major coastal hazards: cyclones, storm surges, coastal erosion, saltwater intrusion, urban flooding. Cyclones become more destructive because higher sea level increases the height of the storm, which destroys the home and infrastructure. Coastal erosion leads to the permanent land loss. In some villages, entire stretches of land have disappeared. Saltwater intrusion contaminates the groundwater, which affects the agriculture as well as the drinking water supplies. Then urban flooding. Urban flooding have become common in major coastal cities due to the poor drainage system and also due to the high tide condition. So these are the impact on coastal cities. Coastal cities are the economic engines of India. However, rising sea levels threaten the infrastructure such as airport, railway station, highways and even the metro system. Then port also may face operational disruptions due to flooding, where economic losses from business interruptions can be very high. Then slum settlements, which are located in low-lying areas, are very particularly in risk because they don't have a proper drainage system. Then tourism-dependent regions suffer due to beach erosion and damaged landscapes. So these are the environmental impacts of the coastal vulnerability. As we know, environmental system act as a natural protective barriers. First is loss of mangroves. Mangroves reduce the wave energy and protect inland areas from storm surges. However, sea level rise and human activities are degrading these ecosystems. Coral reefs are vulnerable to acidification and warming oceans. Then wetlands are being submerged because of reducing biodiversity and weakening the ecological resilience. So loss of these ecosystems increases the long-term vulnerability. These are the socio-economic impact. So the socio-economic impact are profound. First one is livelihood loss of fisheries. As we know, fisher-folk communities experience declining fish catch due to the ecosystem change. Agricultural land become unproductive due to the salinity of the soil. Then climate-induced migration may increase as people relocate inland. Then health risk. It is due to the contaminated water and also increased waterborne diseases. This creates a long-term development challenges. Role of technology. First one is satellite monitoring. Satellite monitoring helps to track sea level changes and also to identify the cyclone formation. This based coastal mapping. So it identifies the high risk zone for better planning. Early warning system. Early warning system reduce the casualties by providing the timely evacuation alerts and warnings. Climate modeling. Climate modeling supports policymakers in long-term planning decisions. These are the government initiatives for the coastal vulnerability. So first one is the Coastal Regulation Zone. It is a framework which regulates construction activities along the coast. Then National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project. It has strengthened the cyclone shelters as well as the early warning systems. Then mangrove restoration. As we know, mangrove is a natural productive barrier. So government has initiated a mangrove restoration. Then smart coastal planning. It's a program which focuses on sustainable development. So these are the adaptation and mitigation measures. Seawalls and embankments, nature-based solutions, climate resilient infrastructure and community awareness. So adaptation includes building walls, seawalls and strengthening embankments. Nature-based solution means mangroves. So it is very cost-effective and sustainable. Climate resilient infrastructure, which means planning ensures building and roads which can withstand the flooding. Then community awareness. It's a program which to enhance the community for their adaptive capacity. And mitigation. Mitigation means reducing greenhouse gas emissions globally. So in conclusion, coastal vulnerability in India is not just an environmental issue but a socio-economic and governance challenge. Preparedness and proactive adaptation today will determine the safety and resilience of coastal in India. Thank you.
If anyone has questions, please feel free to ask now. We welcome your queries on coastal risk assessment, climate adaptation strategies, community resilience, policy responses and the future implication of sea level rise in India.
So, Nazrin, how will sea level rise and climate migration impact India's urban plan?
Well,
from climate migration from coastal areas to inland pressurizes building of houses, infrastructure, settlements and roads, and this also led to the increasing urban poverty and informal settlements. So therefore, urban planning must integrate climate resilient infrastructure and inclusive development strategies.
What role can this private sectors and insurance companies play in reducing the coastal vulnerability?
Well, the private sector can invest in resilient infrastructure as well as they can promote risk-based premiums. Then private and as well as public partnership can also help finance adaptation projects such as building seawalls and early warning systems.
Thank you, Nazrin, for that insightful presentation on coastal vulnerability and sea level rise in India. The session offered a comprehensive perspective on the risk faced by coastal regions and emphasized the importance of preparedness, adaptation, and sustainable planning in disaster management. With DTalk 3.0, we continue to engage with important topics that strengthen our understanding of environmental resilience and disaster risk reduction. Wishing everyone a pleasant evening, and we look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you.